All right, thank you everyone for coming today. And I want to begin by some introductions. So I'm going to start with the table in the rear so that we can meet each other because we have some new faces and we're excited and happy to have you. So we could start with Mrs. Young.
Hello. This is my first meeting, so glad to be here. I'm Yvonne Young, good friend of Veronica's.
Next.
Good afternoon. I'm Larry Jenkins, and I'm from the other part, the Engineers Club of Dayton. So I'm a member there and on their education committee. And I'm also wearing another hat today, Engineering and Science Foundation. I'm on their board as well. I'm pushing community movements in terms of AI, so I'll talk more about that if anybody want to hear about it.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, I'm Kim Vialva, and I am here with the Women's Club. I do a variety of things, including marketing, Miss Manners program that we have coming up Sunday, so education type of things for young women.
Thank you.
I'm Dave Babcock. I'm president for the state of Ohio for the Air and Space Forces Association.
I'm Kimberly Luce. I am the executive director for the Fisher Nightingale Houses, which is a 501c3. It's a support organization for the 3 Fisher Houses here in Greater Dayton that provide compassionate care houses for folks that are in the military, veterans or active, their support systems, to come in and have housing, and hopefully we're taking all the burden off of them so that they can focus only on healing, never a bill.
And we support the Fisher Houses with our Bob Child's golf outing every year. So we definitely love what they do and are supporting them. Okay, Tony, let's go back here.
Paul Beckman with the Centerville Noon Optimist Club. And for what it looks like, I do shower once in a while. So it's just not me, so
I was
good to
gonna
be
say,
here.
have you ever seen that movie, The Help? I mean,
Yeah.
it looks like you're over here.
That's right.
Kathy?
Hello, my name is Kathy Ballman Parks. I am with Altrusa of Dayton and currently serve as secretary for the President's Club.
And what's coming up with Altrusa?
Oh, okay, we have our largest fundraiser coming up a week from Saturday. It is our annual luncheon with a live and silent auction and a variety of other things. This helps us support our grants, scholarships, and other service projects, such as the Fisher House, where the club donated a lot of just needy supplies that they need to help run. So if anyone is interested, tickets are still available. They're $35. I also have $10 raffle tickets. We sell a limited number of tickets, and with the prizes being $300, $200, and $100 in cash. Those are each $10 each. So come and see me if you're interested. Thank you so much.
You need to be
Margaret.
present for the raffle tickets.
No, you do not need to be present for the raffle tickets. If somebody knows you, they will get you your money.
Okay,
Margaret?
I'm gonna get some.
Well, my name's Margaret Kruckmeyer. I'm your volunteer president with the Dayton Women's Club. And we have a lot of activities. We put that flyer on the table. But also, we'd like to bring attention to November the 13th through the 15th. We're bringing back the tradition of a holiday market and bazaar. And so we'll be doing evenings as well as a full day on Friday. So if that would be interesting to anybody that would like to come, and we're getting our vendors lined up, so we hope to fill up the ballroom for you all.
And why don't you add that if service clubs would like to have a table to promote their club, they should. They'll see you after this.
Well, I don't need to. I just had the person that he's.
All right.
And he's on the marketing committee and Kim is our chairman of it.
Thank you.
And that's,
Al?
that's fun
Yeah.
because you had that last.
Alan Pierce with Civitan Club of Dayton.
Larry Horwath with the Riverdale Optimist Club and past president of the President's Club, also past president of many other things. At my age, I'm past everything.
Barb?
But we loved having you.
Barbara Hudson Banner, I'm the president of Twin Teak Incorporated and also a board member for the President's Club.
Josie?
Josie Bedell, I'm the mother of Veronica, the president here, and I'm a part of all of the organizations that comes in this.
Awesome.
I'm Jackie Covart, and I'm
Turn
a
around,
member
Jack.
of Twin Teaks
Okay,
And past president.
and immediate past
anything
president.
that Twin Teak is doing?
No, we just finished our fundraiser. It was
Okay.
fun.
We had a great fundraiser. Kathy was there.
And a delicious German chocolate cake that we won.
No, that we paid for $250 for our German chocolate cake.
Yes, we did.
Do me, hold this,
Okay.
hold that.
And who might you be, sir?
I'm Tony Massoud. I'm with the Civitan Club of Dayton. I'm also with the Dayton Women's Club. And I'm also with the Miami Valley Military Affairs Association, past president of the President's Club, and currently a vice president and also secretary for the Dayton Arab American Forum. And I would like to add that Civitans every year takes out a hole-in-one sponsorship to raise money for the Fisher houses, okay? And also, we have Wreaths Across America. This is a fundraiser that helps us to support organizations like the Fisher House and other organizations like United Rehabilitation Services and at-risk youth here in Dayton, Ohio. So please buy your Wreaths Across America. The date is December 14th, when they will lay wreaths on about 60,000 heroes buried at the National Cemetery here in Dayton, Ohio. Thank you.
And I'll buy one every year now. My dad's birthday. So,
Did you wanna-
thank you.
Did you want to say anything about you?
Oh, well, I'm Veronica Bedell Nevels, and I'm the president of the President's Club of Dayton and a member of Twin Teak Incorporated and past president of Twin Teak also. And I'm very happy to have everyone here today for our lunch and our great speaker, who I'm going to introduce in a few minutes. Thank you. So, anybody have any questions for anyone? Okay, so, Phil,
Yes,
you have a salad?
I do.
Okay, I think it'll hold up
Quite well.
until you're done. Okay, so our guest speaker today is Phil Parks. He is a seasoned entrepreneur, author, and educator with a distinguished career spanning several industries. His vast expertise ranges from sales strategy development to corporate growth, consulting, and nonprofit leadership. Phil is the author of the renowned book, Where Price Never Matters, which explores innovative strategies and value-based selling. Today, he will speak to us as founder of his own nonprofit, Parenting for Adulthood, which focuses on equipping parents with the tools to guide their children into successful adulthood. His commitment to service extends to his role as a pastoral counselor and his involvement with the Rotary Club of Dayton, where he retired after serving as secretary for 2 years. Throughout his career, Phil has consistently demonstrated a talent for business expansion and leadership. Beyond his business accomplishments, Phil is also passionate about education and community service. He has served as an adjunct professor or faculty member at Cuyahoga Community College and has been a guest and keynote speaker at institutions like Wright State University and the University of Dayton. focusing on professional selling and MBA studies. He is also a dedicated speaker for various continuing education programs, including the American Academy of Ophthalmology and the Ohio Opticians Association. Phil's entrepreneurial spirit is evident in his founding of a software startup for which he successfully secured venture and private capital. He has also positioned 4 companies for acquisition, leveraging his expertise as an outsourced management coach to help small and medium-sized businesses achieve both corporate growth and personnel development. In addition to his professional and philanthropic work, Phil's unique career also includes over 2 decades as an ice hockey referee. With a career defined by innovation, leadership, and passion for education, Phil Parks continues to inspire audiences across diverse sectors. His wealth of experience and proven track record of success make him an engaging and impactful speaker. So we are happy to have this well-rounded individual here to talk to us today. Let's welcome Phil Parks.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Veronica, for inviting me, Tony, for getting us together so that I could come out today and speak. In spite of what was just read to you, I found out why it's so cold in here today. They were worried that the speaker was going to put everybody to sleep. And so they turned the temperature down, and probably a good idea. So what I want to do, this is a small enough crowd. I would like to have, at any time somebody has a question, don't necessarily wait for the end. Just raise your hand and let's engage in any question that you have as we're going along. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. If this were a larger crowd, we couldn't do that. I spoke, I think it was last week or the week before, with the Optimist Club of Riverside, and we're going to try to keep everything on time today. But that the questions that they asked, we actually probably went from 30 minutes to close to an hour and 5 minutes with all the engagement that went on. So Parenting for Adulthood is an organization that actually I started. I was on my way to be what is called a coach for the church that I attend, and also where I do my pastoral counseling. They have something that they're doing working with kids. And as I was pulling into the church parking lot to be taught how to be a coach for that group, it dawned on me that what they were doing, which was they were working with high school students and helping them overcome all the unintended stress that coaches and life and grades and parents and aunts and uncles can put on them, as well as peers. And it got me thinking about, that's a great idea, but that's kind of like an ambulance at the bottom of the hill. What is it that we could be doing to get out in front of that? And so that was right before COVID hit. And certainly during COVID, I took the opportunity to read a lot of research that has been done on kids. And an example would be, if I told you today, 1 out of every 5 high school or graduates from college take their parents on a job interview, would you believe that? Yes.
I don't take them.
Yeah, it's astonishing. So close to 60% of the employers today have had to terminate a college graduate because they're just not ready for adulthood. So these are the statistics that are coming out. I don't do the research. What I do is I collect the information for the research and then present it to parents to try to help them understand, how did we get here and what can we do to keep that from happening? Well, I don't think there's anybody in here that would deny that going as far back as you can remember, grandparents, great-grandparents, parents, yourselves, We all want to have our children have it a little bit better than we had it. Agreed? Well, what it ended up happening over a period of time, you've heard of helicopter parents? That was the beginning of where we unintendedly started getting too involved in what our children are doing. There's actually people today, and I don't have the statistic on how many, but when they go to a job interview and they say, what makes you excited about working for our company or this industry? And the kids say, because my parents told me this would be a good place to work or a good industry to work in. So the helicopter parents then got replaced with another group that is called snowplow parents. And those parents, God forbid if you're a teacher, because you give a C to their children, it's your fault. You're not doing something right. Their children are A and B students. If they don't make the varsity team, you're not a good coach. It just goes on and on. And you can see how they're just plowing forward. Nothing is going to get in the way of the success of their children. And so, again, I don't think it was intended to be bad. For the most part, I think we would agree that parents would never intentionally do something harmful to their children. Everybody agree to that?
Yeah.
But the consequences of over all of these different generations has taken us to a place where what do these kids that don't want to work 40 hours a week because they can't get the personal things done that they normally are accustomed to getting done? And so I decided that this was something that was worth working on. Now, I'm 71 years old, and I don't expect to be able to see the fruits of everything that we're doing today. What I do expect, we work from 6th grade backwards through churches. And I'll get into why we chose churches in a second. But we now know, for example, that children at the age of 6 or 7 can learn up to 3 to 5 languages and speak fluently. And you got this little toddler here who's been about 7 months out of diapers, and all of a sudden you look down and there's a little spot of urine on the hardwood floor. Now the temptation for that father, because we're all wound up, we got the baby, we can't stop getting the baby's teething, Junior here just peed on the floor, is to give him a smack on the back end because doggone it, he knows better. He hasn't made a mistake like that in probably 4 or 5 weeks. But if we can get that parent to sit back and say, is what I'm about to do consistent with what I want for my children long term? That little smack on the butt turns into, he's 2.5 years old. He didn't mean to do it, right? And now there's not a little smack on the butt. Now that's just one example. We go to the other example is, now we're going to pick on moms. All of a sudden, you've walked your children to the bus stop. As the bus is pulling away, one of the kids, Mom, I forgot my homework. It's on the kitchen table. What's the instinct to do? Go get the homework and take it to school. Is there any lesson learned by that?
They'll expect you to do it all the time.
Right. So the lesson there is to let them learn from failure. And today's parents do not allow children to fail. It absolutely isn't going to happen. And that does not do employers any good because they are going to fail. There's a renowned school, I can't think of the name of it, up in New England. People from all over the world go to it. It's about $50,000 a year. All incredibly intelligent kids, never had anything less than A's in their life. The first semester, all they do is teach those incoming freshmen how to fail, and how to fail, and how to fail. Because they're not going to be straight A students in this school, because everybody's a straight A student just like them. And so if they teach them early enough that failure is actually a learning experience, they're going to do better. And so that parallels right with what we're trying to do, is to help parents understand just the little things like, if you have a common conversation, we're taught as counselors, we need to listen, but we also teach, at least I do, as a counselor for couples, I need to help them engage on how to have good, meaningful conversation. And by that, I mean, you're not waiting until your spouse takes a breath and then you're giving your reply. That's generally how conversations go, and that's why people are coming into me, is they're no longer listening to each other. But if you take the time to genuinely listen and understand what your spouse is saying to you, the conversation is much better. Is it perfect? No, not always. Not all marriages, they're gonna have their blips. But imagine a child who comes up in an environment where not only does that happen between the mother and the father, but it also happens with them. The communication with children becomes, at school, I don't know, my parents listen to me. We talk about things all the time. I can go to them with anything. That's a lot different than what we see today. So what do you think that little brain, as it's starting to develop and goes off into adulthood, what characteristics are they taking with them? And that's one of, yes, go ahead.
So, I hear what you're saying about having a conversation, but we can't even have conversations at dinner because people are on their phones. They're on their devices, they're texting, they're checking their phones. Kids see that. And then kids have devices too. And parents allow those kids to, instead of focusing on dinner and conversation, I mean, people don't really have conversations anymore, they text. And some people can have a better conversation through a text than face to face. And some of these kids, I'm noticing, they communicate better through text than they do through eye contact, face-to-face communication. I mean, I had to learn how to text because I had a client who wouldn't talk to me, and I sell houses, and he wanted to buy a house. And the whole transaction was through text until the one day that I had to take him into this house to show him some things. He knew he wanted the house, but the whole transaction was through text. I thought that was insane. And I wanted to talk to him, but I don't know, how do we get around this and through this, because now they talk about TikTok all the time, and they talk about these various programs that they get their news from, they get all their information from. Parents have no impact on their children's views because of this.
No, you're right, and what's interesting, you've received some information that we have printed out. No more is that stuff printed and the ink is drying than a new study comes out. And to your point, the current studies that are coming out is called screen time. Now that screen time can be a telephone, it can be an iPad, it can also be a television. To answer your question, and this is part of our curriculum, when you're sitting back with your youngster that could be 2, 3, or 4 years old, and they're playing pretend stuff, which is good. We want that imagination.
Right.
We need that brain working. That's the last thing you should be doing, is checking your email and getting onto your screen, because that's what they're seeing. And that's what they're going to expect as they get older. Exactly. They're going to mimic the parents. And that is part of the curriculum. It has to start with the parents' behavior. If you look at counseling, and I don't do children, at 71 I can barely do somebody that's 25 years old coming in whining and complaining. But you know, I gotta have a couple at some point, so 25 and above. But what's interesting is the fact that I just lost my train of thought.
Want me to rewind the video?
We were talking about screen time. And so the parents have to understand they're going to mimic, somebody said that, what they're seeing. But if we can get the parents to understand that this is something that they need to make a change, and I remember now where I was going with that. I asked the counselor to deal with children in family dynamics, and they said from the age of 10 back, we don't deal with the children. The parents are the ones that have to make the changes. The kids' behavior, for the most part, I mean, there's still medication that needs to be done once in a while, and we refer those out to the doctors that are going to do the medication. But for the most part, if your kid is acting up, it's probably because of something they're seeing at home. And I will tell you, and I'm ashamed to say this, but in my family, all the way through several generations of bad tempers. And I didn't realize it until, you know, I see it in my son with his children. And it hurts really bad when you realize that you've caused this. But I'm so thankful to God that my son has made a decision, because they took the oldest one to counseling, and the counselor said, just like that we do at our church, it's the parental behavior. And in this particular case, it was my son. And at least he is going to cut the head off with a snake for the future generations. And that's just another example of why it's so important to get out in front of this with parents. 6th grade and backwards, we can have a lasting impact. Somebody had made a comment, I think it was Veronica, about eye contact. A new study just came out, and we were talking about what happens with screen time. 58% of employers today say graduates fail to make eye contact in interviews, when they're hired, they go to meetings, and they're not prepared. They would rather text. They would rather text somebody sitting beside them than to turn around and have the conversation. And those conversations are meaningful. Now, yes, like Veronica said, very articulate texts, but somewhere along the line, things get missed in texts. We don't make eye contact. We don't see the body behavior. We don't really get some of that visual cue that we need to have, and that's missing today. So I could go on and on and on about this subject. Obviously, I'm pretty passionate about it. You've received a couple of things. One of them was this piece. I don't know the little red things. Could you pass those out too? This piece, this is our primary client. We work with the youth ministers in churches. And the reason we do that is parents that invest in their children going to church, we recognize that if a church says, hey, we've spent some time, we know this guy Phil, we know Parenting for Adulthood, we're offering this through our church. There's a high percentage that those parents are going to attend that, versus going to a public school where it's sent home with a bunch of other stuff and parents go, what is this? I'm already a parent, I know how to be a parent. But parents that take their kids to Sunday school generally are vested in knowing what's going on in their kids. They trust the church. Church says this is a good program. This particular piece is a little bit different in that when I do speak to where I can't really talk a whole lot about God, and which is a secret sauce in my world, we have the break between church and state here. But it is interesting that in this piece, if you look on the inside left, these are some of the things you can expect out of a course like this. And then over here on the right page, there's actually a quiz that a doctor has put together. And these are some of the pieces that we actually go through, and we answer every one of those questions on how that behavior, how the parent behavior should be. So that's part of the course curriculum there. And of course, we're trying to break the chains of things that have gone in the past. So there's some reading material. I would say put this in your bathroom or beside your bed if you can't sleep. It'll help you get right to sleep very quick. And the last piece you're getting is a little red thing. And it's our gift to you. Anybody have any idea what this is?
Toothpaste tube.
Yes. If you slip this down over your toothpaste like this and keep squeezing it down, all the toothpaste will get squeezed out to the very bottom.
Great, saves you money.
And you use this every day.
So I saw you raise your hand. I knew you had the answer back there. The gentleman that does wear deodorant and does shower had the right answer. So at this point, we're very close to, we have 9 minutes. Although I did open it up for questions at any time, Veronica took a chance to do that. Does anybody have any questions, thoughts, concerns they want to share? Yes, ma'am.
I was just, when some of these things you said, it talks about, in the growing, or not as adulthood, you've heard this, didn't you learn this in kindergarten? These are some, like, for lack of a better term, no-brainers. However, I think we've got a whole different kindergarten going on with the younger kids and younger adults, that they did not learn these things because of the technology, like you said, the cell phones and all of that. So it's just kind of put a little light bulb in my head as things that our generation thinks for granted that people of all ages should know. They're apparently not being taught those anymore for whatever reason on where we're at in society today.
I would not disagree with that one bit. Understanding that and then adding to the fact that, okay, with Velcro, we don't need to know how to tie a shoe. Maybe it's not that important. Maybe we'll learn that at home. I don't know. That was just me talking about something in my subconscious. Anybody here close to my age?
We're past your age.
Okay, sorry. What happened at 11 o'clock every night? Yeah. Well, I guess it was midnight maybe. That screen went on. We don't have that anymore, right? So our parents had some things working for them. We had 3 channels growing up. And so we do have to understand we can't change what's going on, but we can try to control it to the best of our abilities. So if we talk about screen time, and our children don't see us using screen time, and you are having conversations at dinner, after church, things that are really not going on today that we probably should be going back to, we know that when kids get into school, they're going to have their peers. Peer pressure has always been one of the biggest things that parents have to have fear of. It's going to come out there. But keep in mind what you set as a precedent. They're more likely, they're still going to push, they're still going to want their screen time, and it's still going to have to be limited, and we're still going to have to make sure that they're not going to places they shouldn't be going because of what happens on the internet and on TV. But we do have that foundation where it's not something that they see their parents doing, and there's that conflict in there. And what we're really doing is setting the precedent in their mind for how are you going to behave when you become an adult. And does that mean every child's going to pick the right answer? Probably not. But we have to, right, we have to try.
We learn.
Yeah, there was, when I was growing up, there was no marijuana, it was beer. Today, do kids even drink beer? I don't know. We had some questions in the back
They
table.
still drink beer.
They still do? Okay.
My background is in communication, and it's interesting when I think back at what you're saying. When I would teach communication at schools or at universities and so forth, a lot of the topics that were important then, now are not, like talk about nonverbals and listening. That's all still important, but now that idea of how to have conversations, because we've got a Miss Manners program, like an etiquette program coming up here Sunday that I'll be doing. And the big thing, I think, why, from the research I've looked at, the kids pick up these phones when conversation, they don't know what to say. It's comfort. They can text people, they can get right to it. So my goal is to try to help them fill that space so it's not awkward silence. How do they have conversations? How do they come up with topics that they can talk face to face with somebody about rather than going straight to the phone? So it's interesting how that dynamic has shifted as far as what we're teaching about communication, because they're so tempted to go back to that. Now, a good thing, my son is a junior. He had his first date a couple of weeks ago at an ice cream place, and he remembered what I said. He goes, "You know what, Mom? I kept my phone put away the whole time. You told me put my phone down." He goes, "I kept my phone in my backpack." And he goes, "A couple of times, conversation got awkward. We didn't know what to say. And all I did what you told me. I looked around the room and I said, oh," and he would talk about something, and that would get him talking again. I said, well, good. So there is hope. I think we can still try to keep reaching these young people. Yeah, very
And I realize I just got a volunteer speaker for our effort now, so.
Thank you for sharing that. Yes, ma'am.
As a retired educator for 31 years, I have seen the change in the family. Usually when I first started teaching, there were usually two parents in the home, and there was more discipline. But now that it has changed, the parents are trying to be friends with their children. That makes a difference. And when they took prayer out of school and memory gems, that's when chaos started. So, you know, with a lot of homes now with one parent, it makes a difference.
It most certainly does. We hope that a side benefit of this, we don't have any concrete evidence, but we're hoping that it will transpire, is that as we get to where these kids are getting better parenting skills, they're being taught the skills that are necessary for them to be more productive adults, that there'll be more like-minded people getting together, and hopefully less divorces. There's a lot of reasons for divorces, that's a whole nother deal, but you have to have some hope somewhere, and that is one of the byproducts that we're hoping will come out of it. Yes, sir. You've been very patient that day.
I'm excited to hear your presentation. My background is in the military, so a lot of the things is military research, so that whole thing about taking out your mind with the screen and display, we've done a lot of studies. But I think you're touching on something that every citizen has to look at in America now, quality of life. How do you define quality of life? How do you open up that conversation with a 25-year-old and younger? What's your quality of life? What does that even mean? What are you saying? Why are you talking to me about it? Because I do think technology-wise, and I'm knowing this from experience, is that little screen and how it captures the mind. It talks about, I think it's 65% of people are affected by anything visual. Visually, and you talk about the subconscious. So 65% of us automatically is just gonna pick up something that's gonna affect the subconscious or work the subconscious. Another 25 of us are auditory. We hear it, the sound effect to go with the visual, and that covers what? Almost 90%. There's only maybe 5% that have to see physical movement. They have to physically move in order for it to capture into the mind. So that dynamic makes you have to think about how do we now capture communication with adults and children to do your parenting. So I'll just say, hey, I applaud you for the work you're doing, because I do think the challenge point is, what is quality of life, and can we have that conversation? Because I'm kind of like you in terms of the faith perspective. How do I now pull this in so I can have this dialogue with this person? I don't care how little they are. And we had a conversation here talking about a 5-year-old can teach grandma more than I can. I don't care how much information, how much data I got, does not matter. But that 5-year-old has more power than I have. And you kind of already explained it, what they're capable of learning. And so how do we touch base in a multi-generational viewpoint? And that goes with part of your comment about, mom, dad, you got different generations all in the same room. I pretty much got raised by my grandmother. Her wisdom was way bigger than a lot of other people in my life. So I
Yes.
look now.
To a point, it's not in our curriculum. I saw it in my family. My parents dropped me off at church, for example. I don't want to get into a big church thing here, but I went home, came back and picked us up. My dad would go fishing. So where do you think I was on that spectrum as I grew up? Now, I spent 26 years as a hockey referee. My son ended up playing college hockey. I have 2 grandsons that are playing hockey. If you just take the sport away and say, what are parents doing today? There's soccer games, there's gymnastics, there's hockey, there's basketball, there's baseball. Quality of life, it's not part of our curriculum. I hear you. I'm still trying to get my son to understand the value of God in his life.
Yes.
But I think there's a component of that we have to try to figure out how to work with that. And I don't know, maybe we dare say, does church belong on Sundays? Now that's pretty radical, but I mean, think of what parents are doing today. Now, I still see, and we're still working with pastoral counselors, so there are kids going to Sunday school. But what happens after 6th grade? Where does that start to fall off? I don't have the statistics, but I'm guessing there's a pretty good fall off. And it's because of activities. I'm not saying it's wrong, I'm just saying it's something that we all need to really kind of get our arms around. And if anybody here wants to tackle that, I'll let you. That'll be your nonprofit. Thank you for your comments, though. And I went to a military school, so, yeah, prior planning prevents it. I won't go into any further, because then you already know the ending of that.